very pleased to welcome Bo Bissett to Julie and Friends, Life of Love. We have a special episode today where he's going to talk about his philosophy and his program for coaching and inspiring. And I think you're really going to be pleased about his message, all the great information that he has accumulated over his career. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Bo Bissett. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Julie. I really appreciate it. I mean, really means a lot for me to like sharing your platform with me, so I can help spread my message as well. So I'm really very appreciative. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, Amoni is I love you.
Exactly.
That's your tag.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful how you combined the Asian and the Spanish. Um, how did you come about that?
It's a long story, but I'll make it short.
Yeah.
So one of the first books I read, one of the first self-help books I read in my late 30s after I like just figured out I really needed to totally rehaul my life, was called "Love Yourself like your life depends on it" or something like that. I think that was it. And so when I read that book, I put a sticky note on my mirror and said, "I love you." And like I would go to the bathroom, or every time went to the bathroom, I would, read it off like, "I love you." And after a while, I just looked at it and I just tore it down. I was like, I don't believe it. And so it took me another, I don't know, 10 years, about 7, 8 years before I found the work that I'm doing now, which is Amoni. And I can now say that, I can say that phrase. I can look in the mirror and say that I love you, and I thoroughly mean it. Like I'm in love with both. And so
I could
that's,
understand that. Yeah. I remember the first time I looked in the mirror and I looked into my own eyes, my own reflection, and I said, "You're amazing and I love you." And I just started crying. Like, why is that such a barrier? Like why don't we tell ourselves that we love ourselves? Like it was I can get it. It's very emotional. I can understand why you ripped down the post-it. It's a big deal.
yeah, so that's where it came from. And then, yeah, like you said, amo in Spanish means I love, and ni means ni in Chinese means you. So amo ni means literally translates into I love you, and it's a blended philosophy. I use muscle testing. We use meridian meridian chart. We use meridian release points that correspond to the emotions that we find on that chart using the muscle testing. There's a pranayamic breath called the Amo breath. It's a three-part breath that uses breath is represented by the three letters in the word Amo. So A-M-O. So with the first letter for A, you bring in, you're imagining light coming in from the top of your crown down into through your throat and into your chest. So it's ah. And then with the M, we use a humming with an M. So it's mm, um, and the emotions that we connected with the muscle testing and the meridian chart, we imagine those emotions swirling into our heart center and being literally healed by a breath of love. Damo is love, and we're using the heart center as well. And with the we imagine the emotions and the negative feelings that we're connected with being expelled out of our chest. That several times. And then at the very end of each session, we use neurolinguistic programming to help release the wheels of tension and move the person further down their path of their hopes and dreams. That's kind of how it works.
I love how it's connecting the quantum physics and the vibration and light, and then
mm.
how there's so much meaning in sounds. Like if people knew how powerful
Yeah, it's pretty
that
awesome. Like,
that whole idea that you're moving energy, your chi through your body with those words, those sounds. I just that's got to be very powerful and easy.
that is very, very powerful. Yeah, the thing is, like, once I went through a similar program called the spiral. And basically, I had tried everything. I tried the hash. I got a hashtag on my website that says meditation takes too long. Because like I tried meditation, I tried Tony Robbins, I tried Joe Dispenza, I tried like obscure healing techniques in Asia when I moved back here. Um, I did everything I could think of. I read self-help books. I did Mind Valley courses. Like I spread myself thin. I did everything I could imagine, and nothing worked. Nothing moved the needle. Like I would go forward and then immediately back, forward and back. Finances, with love life, with physical. Like I was getting nowhere, and I was so irritated and or frustrated. And I met the woman who's my wife now, and we had a really big argument, which it was so wonderful when we were on, but like we could be just as equally bad when things turned bad. And so our last argument, we were like, all right, this is it. We gotta like either seek some outside help because she was on her healing journey as well. So we were just like, it's not working. We're nothing's moving the needle.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and sat with this guy, and he took me the first session. Boom, that was it. I was like, oh my god, this is like I finally, after 7 years, I believe that this is finally I finally found something that that's worked. It finally touched the area that I needed to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we with the muscle testing, we find the emotions that we buried, that we programmed as children, connect with them, and then let them go. And with the Amo breath, that was something that I came up with based on because when I was going through this anxiety, biggest emotion that I was letting out,
Mm-hmm.
and man, it was horrible. It was so like it was just crippling. My wife had just gone through Reiki at the time, and so she was having to do Reiki on me, like almost probably a couple times a week, just because I was just like just so shooken. And so I came up with the Amo breath to help. 'Cause I like to do things on my own. So by doing the Amo breaths is like one of those kind of one of those downloads that you have. Just everything
Mm-hmm.
kind of came to, and it was like oh. And so I started playing around with it. I was like, oh my god, this works! Like this is amazing. So yeah.
I love that you're on that journey together with your wife, and she had the tools you needed, and you guys stirred each other up enough to look for the help, right? Like if you weren't
hmm
destined to help
Yeah, it was
each other.
amazing. What is this? Exactly. It was such an amazing journey. I was so
Yeah.
lucky to find her and have her as a partner. So
Yeah.
I tried to do everything on my own, and then it didn't. Nothing worked on my own, and then it took us being together and finding each other, to push and pull each other. So
Mm-hmm.
I shed light on things that she needed to work on, and she did the same for me. So it was like that was amazing.
Uh,
I was very lucky.
the power of love, right? And I love it that you were honest about, your spiritual people a lot of times don't talk about these dark nights of the soul. It hurts. It hurts to work through these
Oh, I
things.
know, right?
I had weeks that I
Oh,
just
it's
couldn't.
so
I
yeah.
mean, I couldn't even look at my kids for like 3 days one time because I was just hurting so much trying to get through things. And, it's just the honesty to be like, I'm just going through something and all I need is a hug and it's not your fault. Or, just,
Mm.
it's, a lot of times we show up as like you and I right now, we're on the other side of a lot of it. Like things are still going to come up, right? Like I'm sure you still are using
Oh,
this
of course, of
technique, right?
course, they
But
still do.
you just have the tools, or
hmm
you've been through it, and so you can rely on that history. But the first few times in that soul searching, I did Tony Robbins too. My husband and I went and walked on fire one weekend in Florida. It was groundbreaking for our relationship to spend a weekend at his one of his seminars. I felt like it brought my
Right.
husband into my realm. And like men like to move and
Oh,
do.
nice.
Like men have to move and do.
Right.
I can sit and study and download and reflect, but I appreciate that everybody has a different journey. So I
Of
just
course.
and what you do is you listen to people and you try their things, and when like you said, it was like it's stuck, it worked. And so as long
Mm.
as you keep trying, that's what I tell people, it's your journey, it's your voyage, it's your quest. So make it what you want. Picture your perfect way of being in the world and what you want, how you want to show up for yourself, and then boom, then the tools will arrive that you need. And so maybe someone
Yeah,
listening to
exactly.
this will,
They don't always happen exactly when you expect them to
right, you
either.
just have to say, universe, source, God, Jesus, Mary, Joseph, anybody, Allah,
Yeah, right.
Allah,
Somebody help me out.
just anybody who's available, just come, I'm
Yeah.
ready, I'm open, show me the highest good. Oh,
I
I
like
feel
that.
you. So I wanted to tell you. Okay, so in your experience working with the meridians and the chakras, what area do you see? I know everyone's different, but is there an area of congestion that most people have? Is it around the heart? What would you say you see the most commonly congested that you work on the most?
I would think the root chakra is probably one of the biggest areas. But then from there, like, but then it's, yeah, like you said, it differs, right? Not everybody's the same. So some people like the heart is a big one. Some people like third chakra is a big one. Um, the throat, for people that are quiet and like to, don't want to open up or talk about things, like that could be a big congestive area. But yeah, definitely the root chakra is a very big one. That's where the heavy emotions like shame, guilt, hide, and so yeah,
Yeah,
that one's big.
the shame and guilt, that'll
That
get
one for
you.
me was really big. Like I just opened up like a watershed, like a broken dam when that first session with that guy that worked on me, it was like boom. I cried for like hours, man, like hours, like half a day probably, and just like I'm just walking around the house and I was, you
Mhm.
know,
I hear you. And I
so
wish that people, like society, knew that tears are a detox. It's cleansing. Like, it's when you cry, you have
oh
to be
yeah,
thankful. Like, you felt this emotion so strongly that you were crying. Like, it's, I think,
mm.
isn't it one, there's a culture that actually, like, will collect tears. Have you heard about that culture that,
I don't know. That sounds familiar, but I'm not.
yeah.
No, I don't. I don't know where that's
I think
from.
it's some culture in Central America where tears are so revered that actually collect them in little jars. And
That's interesting.
I know we
That's a
just
cute little tear jar.
take things for
But
granted.
the thing is, like, I know, right? The thing is, like, with the emotions, like, I found that, emotions, like everything else, are energy, right? And when we embody emotions, we actually attach them, we hold on to them, and like we anchor them in our body, like physically. So when you cry and when you're going through like an emotional release, then like that crying is the actual emotion moving from your body, like the physical space, like freeing up from your body for and it like purifying itself of that excuse me, of that emotion. When I went through the program, and then like this just happened with like many of the people that I work with now too, is like when we go through this work, like people lose weight like and like drastic, you know, and and if they're like for me, like I'm I'm pretty fit, like I'm about 5'10", 170 pounds, 175 pounds, something like that. And so like I'm not somebody that really should lose much weight, like probably not much, not any at all actually.
Mhm.
Um, and when I went through this work, I lost 20 pounds, like, and I looked like a skeleton. And I've gained it all back, but it was just me, like, just clearing, like, actually getting rid of that attachment that my body was holding on to. I like to
Mhm.
describe like our bodies are like our high school hallway, just littered with lockers. But instead of books, we store these emotions in lockers.
Oh yeah,
And
and
so when
old
we open
candy
those lockers and let
wrappers
them
and
out,
yeah, I just think about all the
yeah,
junk at the lockers.
that's right.
We got like bugs,
I
candy
know.
wrappers, old socks, like just clean it out. I love
I
that
like that.
analogy. That is fantastic. That is really cool.
Thank you.
So, in your opinion, how important is self compassion?
Self compassion, well, it's huge. Yeah, like so many of us
Mm,
can't. We're not allowed. We
huge.
don't allow ourselves to do it, right? Because of the emotions that we program that are keeping us from doing so, right? I mean, I hated myself for most of my life, which is why like I put myself. I was in two car accidents where I nearly killed myself. Um, First one, my dead grandfather showed up somewhere between me from the wreck and me waking up in the intensive care unit the next morning and told me to like, go back, that it wasn't my time. Um,
Oh, so you had a near death experience with your grandfather.
yeah, yeah.
He like met
So
you halfway. It was like, Bo.
yeah, yeah, but that didn't help. Like I kept doing it. Like I had another accident, another drunken accident 2 years after that. Like I wrecked my body. The first accident, I broke both my femurs, crushed my knee, my ankle, elbows. I broke ribs. I had internal damage. Like I cracked my skull open. It was a mess, man. And I kept doing it year after year after year after year. And like some people do that with alcohol and drugs. Some people do it with sex. Some people do it with like, with work. We all have like, we all have the a way that we self sabotage and that we use to keep ourselves small or like to ruin our what we really want in life because that's the subconscious in control, right? So I found that I was talking about frustration earlier, and like frustration is can be your salvation because when you find frustration, you know that you imagine like two different gears. So the top gear would be like your conscious intention, right? Like what you really want in a life, what you want in business and what you want in a partner and stuff like that. And the bottom gear is subconscious programs, right? So it's basically what you got stored and anchored and embodied, as a kid that's keeping you from doing these things. And then the frustration you feel is the friction between these two gears, right? They're not moving, but you can't lose weight. You can't stop drinking. You can't start that business that you want because your subconscious is like, nah, sorry, you want that, but no, it's not safe for you because blah, blah, blah happened when you were blah, blah, blah years old. And sorry, no. So if you find that frustration, boom, that's where you go for.
Yep. The fear is freedom. So
Mm-hmm.
anything that the frustration is a path. The fear, and the other side, anything you're resisting or trying to, like all those things that you talked about, these addictions, they're just ways to null the pain, to get
Exactly.
away from
Yeah, to
facing the
run
pain,
away.
facing the frustration. Yeah, I'm going to drive fast. I'm going to get away from it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be there tapping you on the shoulder on the other side when you wake up from your hangover, when you roll over and, whatever. It's just it's and everybody has this journey, so hopefully someone who's listening can see themselves and decide that they're important enough to take a risk, that their
Yeah,
life
that's the
is
thing. Like we
life
need
is
to
divine.
exactly. We need to prioritize ourselves, right? And my dad and my uncle died like in their just a few years ago in the early 70s, like 71, 72, stuff like that, because they didn't take care of themselves, right? They put everybody else first, and you cannot take care of other people until you take care of yourself first, right? And the thing is, like, if you neglect yourself, like what you got going on mentally and emotionally, and like if you think that you're holding that into yourself and you're protecting others by not, you're not, like, you're messing, the energy you're giving off by being angry, by being frustrated, by being, anal or, whatever it is, like, that is affecting other people like day in and day out. So, fix yourself, heal yourself and you heal others, right?
Ah, you nailed it. You nailed it there. That's just absolutely, because we're projecting into the field, and as soon as people understand what they're projecting makes a difference. And it's like, what can I do to help? This world is so crazy. We have wars, we have famine, we have trafficking. There's all these crazy
Mhm.
things, and it's like, what can I do? And I'm going to donate to this charity or whatever. But the most important thing you can do is is be good yourself and be aware. Like, you can stop crimes, you can stop these tragedies by just being aware and sending out a vibe. The vibe
Exactly.
is like, it's
Yeah,
magic. I tell people you can live in magic if you just understand how you're affecting yourself and everyone around you.
exactly.
Magic.
So true. So true. Like heal. Yeah. It's you. Like we can do so many things. Like my whole outlook has changed. And once I started healing myself, it was just like, and then like magically started. Things just started happening. Right. It's just I wasn't really doing anything different. I was just carrying a different vibration. I was open to opportunities and like those, all that stuff that was keeping me where I was gone. So I was able to move on and
Mm-hmm.
go where I really
Like
wanted
you
to go.
said, that spiral, like you're not going to go straight up like a rocket ship. You're going to spiral and get there, and you're going to have setbacks, and you're going to have roadblocks and hurdles. But
Mm.
as long as you keep your intention and you keep, looking for your healing path, you're going to spiral up.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that?
You don't want to go back.
Exactly. Have you ever seen that cartoon of success? It's like two different drawings, and one is like one's an arrow from the bottom left hand corner to the top right hand corner. It's like a straight arrow. It goes up. It's like most people's definition or their view of success, right? And then on the second box is like this squiggly line. It's like up and down all over the place, and it's just like, and then it finally gets up to the top, and it's like what success actually is, right? So,
Yeah, and all your experiences, all your car wrecks, all your, broken bones, it gives you depth that you can reach those people that have the death wish like you had. Like I couldn't reach those same kind of people because I
mm,
didn't have those experiences. I can only go from my experiences,
mm-hmm.
right? So every misstep is there's no mistakes, is what I'm trying to say.
Nope,
There's no
nope,
mistakes.
none at all.
And you just have to trust and just keep asking for the highest good, because you'll get there. There's no doubt that you're going to get to the place you need to be, because that's why you're here. So I love that. Oh, let me look at my questions again, Bo. We keep getting off.
No problem, no problem.
Oh yeah. So my next question was, frustrations tell a story. And we just talked about frustration. It was my next question. Often people talk about setting boundaries and limits in relationships. Do you coach people to set internal boundaries?
Uh, boundaries and boundaries with I think like I'm not too like my wife and I like what we've done is like it's the most amazing relationship that I've ever been in, and like we've been open to so many things. I'm not sure I understand what really boundaries are because we haven't really limited ourselves to anything. So I guess like personal bound, like I don't know. I respect like when she wants to go do something on her own, but like I don't know. She and I are like peas in a pod. So we most of those things we do together. But there's times when she wants to do something on her own. There's some times that I want to do something on my own, and like just to be able to respect those wishes, and everybody needs time off and time to themselves and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, everybody's different. So I mean, I've always wanted a partner that was like that I could go cycling with, that I could go to the beach with and paddleboard, that I could go scuba diving with, and like and I could sit down and meditate with, or I could cook with, and like yeah, I got what I wanted. So
You got your best friend.
yeah, exactly. She's yeah, definitely my best friend.
That's so cool. So instead of focusing on boundaries, maybe a more, you know, alignment with your philosophy would be respect and self-value,
Mm,
and with because you have a relationship with yourself, and as long as you're respecting yourself, you're going to make good choices. Or there's often boundaries about how, I don't know, like to me, boundaries can like put up a wall. So it's a tricky word.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a
It's
tricky
kind of like
word. So
it's almost limiting, you know. It feels like the word feels like
mhm,
limiting. So I think just exploration, like
yeah,
just be open to exploring, like because the minute in a relationship, anytime you say, "Oh, I'm not doing this or doing that," I mean, there's certain things, of course, you're not going to do for immoral or whatever, but there's some things that just like be open to exploring, right? And that's the thing with labels too, right? If you say like, oh, I'm vegetarian or I'm a yoga person or whatever. It's like by doing that, just by even using just I am this or I am that, you just like completely limit yourself to like other possibilities. And it's just like I don't know, it's cool to do yoga, but like is that all you want to do? Like is that how you want to? So I just really believe in like being open to experiencing life and not I am, get rid of that phrase.
I love that. That resonates with me so much because I often struggle with the labels and how they put people in boxes and it's limiting. And then, then you're like you said, you defend the label and it
Oh, of
makes
course.
you narrow minded
Yeah.
and you're like, well, I've always been like this,
Mm.
you never did it that way. And it's just like it's just so dysfunctional when you can look at it from an eagle eye, an eagle perch,
Mhm.
it's just we're constantly growing, we're constantly changing. So to have these fixed ideas of who you are and what you're going to eat or what entertainment you have or
Mhm.
whatever it is, if and to me that the hardest thing is that idea that you're going to stand behind what you did because that's the way you've done it. Like what really opened my eyes was that you just say, well, that's who I was yesterday, and I'm who I am today. And
Yeah.
each moment is a chance to live the life of your dreams. So you can redefine what your happiness is. You can redefine what your healthy diet, like I was vegan for a year and a half, and then all of a sudden I was like, well, I'm going to eat eggs. And, like, well, cheese makes me feel bad. So I'm not eating cheese, but I'm not going to say, you know what I mean? Like, you just go with the flow. Like you said, just live life the way you want to live as long as you're respecting other people. We don't have to live on these prescribed, you know, sets
Yeah, exactly. Find what works
choices
and
or
go with that, right?
circumstances. And it doesn't work anymore, then do something else, and
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
fine.
Yeah, look,
It's like,
exactly. The thing is, like, we're story creatures, right? And we love creating stories.
mm,
Joseph Campbell built his
mm.
career on like mythology and like the stories that society tells ourselves, and it's just that's we hang on to these stories that we build about ourselves, like that defines who we are, and then but then that definition of who we are, like again, it's, try not.
Oh my gosh, Bo, the best one I heard lately is the Syrians were an early civilization, and they had the cuneiform.
Uh
They
huh.
had tablets of clay, and this professor, I am terrible with names. I didn't write it down,
That's
but
all right.
it's a renowned professor. He was able to transcribe and not transcribe but translate these cuneiform tablets, and they
Uh huh.
weren't just they thought they were receipts and recipes, but they were stories, and there was a story of the original Adam and Eve.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, that's cool.
And talk about blowing your mind.
I
And one
know,
brother
right?
wanted to enslave humanity. It was a struggle between two brothers, right? And this is just, I don't know the answer, but I love stories too.
Mm-hmm.
And to have a different Adam and Eve story that honors the divine feminine, I was like, I'm listening. I'm all ears. Like anything divine feminine. I'm like, I love it,
Right.
right? So the two brothers, one wanted to keep people enslaved, and the other brother wanted to give everyone the red pill. Like
Mm-hmm.
he wanted he wanted to tell Eve, you have choices. You can create your own life. You don't have to stay in this garden. You don't have to, like you're free. And that was the snake. That was the brother who showed up as a snake, wanted to red pill, which I found interesting because apples are
Red.
typically red.
Right.
And that story just blew my mind. That translation, the Assyrian, take on it, whatever. I mean, I don't know this historian. I mean, he could have just been making this up. I don't know the truth. Like, who knows the truth? And I have not, I don't have anything against anybody's religious beliefs. Like, you believe what you need to believe to get through the day, and I'm all about just living your best life. But I just had to share that with you because it just blew my mind. Because I started thinking about it, I'm like, apples are red. It's a red pill. He wanted to tell Eve that she wasn't trapped. Like
That's cool.
I
I
just love
love it.
that.
It's
I just
like
love it.
yeah, it sounds like the latest Marvel movie crossed with Matrix, and and we've been using the same stories like for
Yeah.
generations, for ages, for thousands of years, right? And they just keep repeating themselves over and over and over again. So yeah, that's just we are story creatures.
Yeah. So create your own story,
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly, exactly.
clear out the garbage so you can be your ultimate light. You can shine in the world because you don't need to carry around the childhood programming, right?
True.
So, yeah. Well, we're wrapping up our time, but was there anything else on your heart that you wanted to share with the audience, or?
Mm, anything else? Just be true to yourself, and to do that, take the first step, and start working on. Don't be afraid to work on yourself. Be like we said earlier, be a little bit selfish, and yeah, put yourself first. By doing so, you'll open doors that you never imagined possibly opening for you, and your life changing in ways that you never imagined. So yeah, take that step.
It's exciting. Well, thank you so much, Bo. I just really adored this time we had today, and our conversation is really great.
I agree. Thank you so much. Thanks again.
Thanks. Take care.
And you too. Bye, Julie.
Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to the next episode. As always, you can reach me at www.youneedapeptalk.com. Be well, my friends, and enjoy each day, as each moment is a chance to live the life of your dreams. Take care.